All right, today we're going to pull back the curtain on something pretty incredible, using artificial intelligence to finally make sense of our personal health data. We're going to explore how AI can find those hidden connections, between your glucose, your sleep, and your activity, the stuff you'd probably never spot on your own. Okay, let's jump right in. So, does this sound familiar? I bet it does. It's one of the most frustrating questions in diabetes management. You do everything right, you stick to the routine, but your numbers are just all over the place. It honestly feels like a guessing game, and that's exactly the problem we're going to tackle. And here's the absolute key difference. Look, traditional tracking apps are great for one thing, logging your data. They show you what happened. Your glucose was 185. But that's where it ends. AI analysis, on the other hand, takes that giant leap forward. It's built to connect the dots and actually tell you why it happened. Now, to really get why AI is such a game changer here, you first have to appreciate the massive scale of the problem we're up against. And it really all comes down to one thing: data overload. Let's just start with one source. If you use a continuous glucose monitor, a CGM, you're generating over 2,000 glucose readings every single week. Just trying to find any meaningful patterns in that fire hose of data is already a massive challenge. But of course, glucose is never the whole story, is it? So let's add another layer. Maybe you track your sleep. Well, that's hundreds more data points every week, capturing every sleep stage, every time you toss and turn. The picture is getting really complicated, really fast. And here it is. This is the real challenge. When you combine your glucose, your sleep, your activity, your meals, you're looking at well over 3,000 different data points to analyze every single week. The clues are in there somewhere, but they are buried deep. So here's the bottom line. Trying to manually figure out if your deep sleep on Tuesday night somehow affected your glucose spike on Thursday afternoon? Well, our brains just aren't built for that. There are literally millions of possible connections. It is humanly impossible. And this is where AI steps in. Its superpower isn't some kind of magic. It's a very specific, very powerful skill that's perfectly suited for this exact problem, recognizing complex patterns across many, many different variables all at the same time. So when we talk about AI health analysis, this is exactly what we mean. It's about using these powerful algorithms to sift through all that noise, all that data, and pull out the meaningful signals, those connections that are pretty much invisible to the naked eye. Let me give you a really concrete example of what this actually looks like. An AI might find a super specific 3-part pattern like this one. See, it's not just one thing causing the spike. It's the unique combination of getting poor sleep, then exercising late, and having a late lunch. A person would almost never connect those 3 specific dots on their own. And this, right here, is probably the most important part of all. The AI isn't just spitting out generic advice you could find anywhere online. It's learning the specific roles that govern your body. It's mapping out your unique metabolic fingerprint to figure out what truly works for you, not what works for some generic population average. Okay, so you're probably wondering, how does it actually do all this? Let's pull back the curtain and take a quick look at the step-by-step process. I promise, it's a lot more straightforward than you might think. So here's the basic flow. First, you've got data ingestion. That's just a fancy term for bringing in all your health data. Next is data pre-processing, which is all about cleaning up that raw data and making it ready for analysis. Step 3 is where the magic happens: pattern recognition. The AI runs thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of correlation analyses. Then it moves on to insight generation, where it ranks all those findings to see which ones are actually statistically significant. And finally, and this part is crucial, natural language explanation. It translates those complex findings into simple, actionable advice you can actually understand and use. A great way to think about it is this. The AI is like a super detective, but instead of looking at a handful of clues, it's examining over 10,000 of them, all at the same time. It's finding those really subtle connections that lead directly to the real culprit behind your unpredictable glucose swings. Okay, so that's all the theory, but what does this actually look like in the real world? Let's check out some actual discoveries the AI has made and the incredible impact they've had for people. This is where it gets really powerful. The AI didn't just say, hey, sleep is important. No,
For one person, it found that getting less than 60 minutes of deep sleep meant their fasting glucose was a full 64 points higher the next morning. So they focused on that, and their fasting numbers dropped by 58 points. Amazing! For another person, it was just about breakfast timing. Waiting 60 to 90 minutes after waking dropped their post-meal spike by 56 points. These aren't generic tips. They are specific, measurable insights that lead to real change. Now, anytime we talk about AI and personal health data, two really important questions always and rightfully come up: privacy and limitations. Building trust means tackling these head-on, so let's do that right now. First up, the big one. This is your most sensitive, personal information we're talking about. Is it safe? That's a completely valid question, and you deserve a crystal clear answer. Okay, the approach to security has to be multi-layered. Your data is encrypted from end to end, both when it's moving and when it's stored. The analysis itself happens in a secure, isolated environment. And this is critical. Your data is never sold or shared with third parties, period. You always have full control to export or delete your data anytime. And the AI models are not trained on your personal information. Your privacy is priority number one.
All right, the second key question is all about setting the right expectations. Is this technology some kind of magic bullet that solves everything? Let's be really honest about what it is and what it isn't. It is so important to understand this. This tool gives you educational insights. It does not give medical advice. It's not a doctor. It finds incredibly strong correlations, but that's not the same thing as proving direct causation. Also, the insights are only as good as the data you put in, and you really need a few weeks of data for the patterns to become reliable. And most importantly, this is a tool to complement your care, not to replace your healthcare team.
So what this all really means is that we can finally move beyond just tracking numbers and making educated guesses. The technology is here to let us go so much deeper, to start truly understanding the unique, interconnected patterns that are driving your personal health.
And that really brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with. Your health data is telling a story. It's absolutely full of clues and connections that can explain what's really happening inside your body. The only question left is, what hidden patterns are just waiting to be discovered in your data?